Bullies touched black girl inappropriately. Her self-defense move made national news. A story by Heartfelt Tales. Maya Thompson had always been the girl who disappeared into the background. At 17, she moved through the hallways of Lincoln High like a shadow, her dark eyes downcast, her shoulders hunched as if she could make herself smaller, invisible. She preferred the safety of silence to the risk of being noticed, especially by the wrong people. But on that cold Tuesday morning in March, invisibility would no longer be an option. The first period bell had just rung when Maya rushed toward her locker, arms full of textbooks. She was already running late for chemistry class, and Mr. Peterson didn't tolerate tardiness. As she fumbled with her combination lock, she could hear the familiar sound of heavy footsteps and cruel laughter approaching from behind. Well, what do we have here?" The voice belonged to Jake Morrison, the school star quarterback and self-appointed king of the hallways. His entourage of followers snickered as they formed a semicircle around Maya's locker. Maya's hands trembled as she continued working on her combination. Maybe if she ignored them, they would move on to someone else. Maybe today would be different. "Hey, I'm talking to you," Jake's voice grew sharper. His friend Connor stepped closer, blocking Maya's path to her classroom. "Before we continue with Maya's incredible story of finding her inner strength, I want to ask you something. Have you ever felt like you were invisible, like your voice didn't matter?" Maya's journey is going to show us that sometimes our greatest strength comes from our darkest moments. If this story resonates with you, please hit that like button, share it with someone who needs to hear this message, and don't forget to subscribe to Heartfelt Tales for more inspiring stories like this one. Now, let's see what happens next. Maya finally managed to open her locker, but as she reached for her chemistry book, Jake's hand slammed against the metal door, trapping her. "You know what, guys? I think our little Maya here has been hiding something from us." The hallway, which had been bustling with students just moments before, seemed to empty as if by magic. Maya knew from experience that when Jake and his crew targeted someone, other students made themselves scarce. Nobody wanted to risk becoming the next victim. "Please," Maya whispered, her voice barely audible. "I need to get to class." "Class can wait," Connor said with a smirk. "We're just trying to be friendly here." What happened next would replay in Maya's mind for years to come. Jake's hand moved toward her chest, his intentions clear and disgusting. "Let's see what you're hiding under that baggy sweater." But Maya had been hiding something far more significant than Jake could have imagined. For the past 3 years, she had been secretly training in martial arts at her uncle's dojo across town. What had started as a way to build confidence had evolved into something much deeper. Her uncle, a former military combat instructor, had taught her not just how to fight, but how to channel her quiet strength into something powerful. The muscle memory kicked in before conscious thought could interfere. As Jake's hand reached for her, Maya's training took over. She grabbed his wrist with lightning speed, twisted her body, and applied a pressure point technique that sent shooting pain up his arm. The crack of bone was audible in the empty hallway. Jake's scream echoed off the lockers as he crumpled to the ground, clutching his broken wrist. Connor, shocked by his friend's sudden collapse, lunged forward to grab Maya's shoulder. He never saw the elbow strike coming. The impact to his solar plexus doubled him over, and Maya's follow-up move sent him sprawling onto the cold linoleum floor, his hand bent at an unnatural angle. The third member of their group, Tyler, stood frozen in disbelief. The quiet girl they had tormented for months had just disabled 2 of the school's most feared bullies in less than 10 seconds. You broke our hands." Jake gasped, his face pale with shock and pain. Maya straightened her shoulders, and for the first time in her high school career, she looked directly into Jake's eyes. "You broke your own hands the moment you decided to touch me without permission." The aftermath was swift and intense. Within minutes, the hallway filled with teachers, administrators, and paramedics. Jake and Connor were rushed to the hospital while Maya was escorted to the principal's office. The story spread through the school like wildfire, but the reactions were not what Maya had expected. Instead of condemnation, she found support from unexpected places. Sarah Chen, a girl from her English class, approached her at lunch with tears in her eyes. "Maya, I wanted to thank you. Jake did the same thing to me last month, but I was too scared to tell anyone. Seeing you stand up to him, it gave me the courage to report it." Over the following days, more stories emerged. Jake and his friends had been terrorizing students for years, particularly targeting girls who seemed vulnerable. Maya's act of self-defense had opened the floodgates for other victims to speak up. The legal proceedings were complicated. Jake's parents initially threatened to press charges against Maya, but when the full extent of their son's behavior came to light, they quietly withdrew their threats. The school board launched a comprehensive investigation into the bullying culture at Lincoln High. Maya's parents, who had been unaware of both her martial arts training and the extent of the bullying she had endured, were initially shocked. Her mother, Patricia, broke down crying when she realized how much her daughter had been suffering in silence. "Why didn't you tell us?" she asked through her tears. "Because I thought if I stayed quiet, stayed invisible, it would eventually stop," Maya explained. "But some people see silence as permission to hurt you." The transformation in Maya was remarkable. The girl who had once shrunk from attention now walked with her head held high. She started a self-defense club at school, teaching other students basic techniques to protect themselves. Her uncle, proud of how she had applied her training, began offering free classes to students from Lincoln High. But perhaps the most significant change was in Maya's relationship with her own voice. She joined the debate team, started writing for the school newspaper, and began speaking up in class discussions. The strength she had discovered in that hallway wasn't just physical, it was the realization that she had always possessed the power to defend herself and others. Jake and Connor, after their recovery, faced serious consequences. They were expelled from school and charged with sexual assault. The incident followed them to college applications and job interviews, a permanent reminder of the day they learned that actions have consequences. The story of Maya's courage spread beyond Lincoln High. Local news stations picked up the story, and she was invited to speak at other schools about bullying prevention and self-defense. Standing at podiums that once would have terrified her, Maya shared her message: silence isn't protection. It's just another form of imprisonment. 1 year later, Maya stood before the graduating class of Lincoln High as valedictorian. In her speech, she addressed the incident that had changed everything. Sometimes life forces us to find strength we didn't know we had. That strength was always there, waiting for the moment we needed it most. For me, that moment came when I realized that protecting myself wasn't just my right, it was my responsibility. The bullying culture at Lincoln High didn't disappear overnight, but Maya's actions had created a ripple effect. Students were more willing to report incidents, teachers were more vigilant, and the administration implemented stricter policies. The school established a peer support program and mandatory classes on consent and respect. Maya's story became a symbol of empowerment, particularly for young women who had been taught to endure rather than resist. Her message was clear: you don't have to accept mistreatment, and you don't have to face it alone. As Maya prepared to leave for college on a full scholarship, she reflected on the journey from that terrifying morning to this moment of triumph. The shy girl who had once hidden in the shadows had become a beacon of hope for others facing similar struggles. Her final words to the students of Lincoln High were these: "Your voice matters. Your boundaries matter. And when someone tries to take that away from you, you have every right to defend yourself. The strength you need is already inside you. Sometimes you just need the right moment to let it shine." Maya's story reminds us that true strength isn't about being the loudest person in the room or the most aggressive. It's about knowing your worth, setting boundaries, and having the courage to enforce them when necessary. Her journey from victim to victor shows us that even in our darkest moments, we possess the power to change our circumstances. If Maya's story has inspired you, please take a moment to like this video and share it with someone who might need to hear this message. Subscribe to Heartfelt Tales for more stories that celebrate the resilience of the human spirit.